beautiful Gemini friends, and welcome to your horoscope for 2024, where we are going to go into what is breaking down for Gemini in 2024, but to make sure that you are absolutely prepared and know what's coming, know what the trends are. You're not only going to get the breakdown of the big outer planets and those long-term themes for the year from me, but I've also paired with 4 other phenomenal astrologers. So we've got Wade Caves bringing you finance. We've got Christopher Renstrom taking you through your relationship themes for the year. Cameron Allen is not only bringing you medical astrology, but also movement Gemini to help you this year. And Tiffany Harlick at the end is going to pull it all together, give you your astrology of spiritual and self-development. And she's also going to take you through every quarter, Gemini. So you want to take this video this year. And I am telling you, get a pen, get paper, put it on in the background and just listen, because everybody has got something to offer to you, because we want you to be prepared. Now, also in being prepared, we want to make sure that your 2024 toolkit is absolutely loaded. So make sure you get your digital transit calendar from our friends at Wise Skies Collective. Click in the description box down below, take advantage of my coupon and get it. It brings the aspects right to you. You can also get in contact with any one of our astrologers in the description box down below. And while we are going to do a lot of my portion on the outer planets, remember, I am with you every month. I am with you every week, breaking down even more aspects. And if you're following me on Instagram, I am with you every single day, letting you know what is going on in the cosmic sky. So engage with me, and follow along here. Join the Astrology Soulmate Tribe, and that's us right here on YouTube, okay? All right, my beautiful Gemini friends, let's get in here and talk about what these outer planets have to offer for you this year. Now, first and foremost, it's big news. We've got Jupiter that's going to be moving into your sign this year. Come May, we're going to see Jupiter coming out of Taurus, out of that 12th house space where you've been expanding things behind the scenes, maybe working, rehabbing injuries, learning about things behind the scenes, treating illnesses that you have, treating creative projects behind the scenes, getting rid of things, Gemini. I hope that you spend 2023 getting rid of the stuff that needs to go on ahead and come to an end. And then when we get to May, we're going to see that Jupiter moves into your sign for the first time in 12 years. So first and foremost, Gemini, make sure you back up 12 years ago. What was happening? What was expanding for you? What were you learning? Where were you demonstrating wisdom? What was going on at that time frame for you in your first house? Were you being seen or being known then? Because Jupiter is bringing a similar vibration for you here in 2024, where expand out, let us see you, let us know you, change your look. Now for Geminis, I'm going to tell you, because this is in your first house, you also want to be mindful that while Jupiter does love to expand you out, it also loves to expand you out. So if you are eating, you'll have some expansion. If you are pregnant, we might see some expansion, obviously, right? But here's the other thing. With Jupiter in Gemini, unlike when Jupiter was in Taurus, it's not always in the physical body. What can happen, Gemini, is that Jupiter expands you here where you feel like your head is going to explode with so much information. So I do want you, as your beautiful air self, to take it a little bit easy with all of the content that you may be ingesting this year, because a piece of this is to also network. And remember, you just need to hold down what you do and what makes you unique to your community, and network with other people so that they can offer the next piece, and you're not trying to be everything from everyone, and let a little bit of that stuff come on out of your head, okay? Now we're going to have Uranus continuing through the vibration of Taurus, so still in that 12th house space, bringing up things from the past, shaking up though the gems and the jewels from you as well, that it can actually be turned into resources. So I'm telling you, even as we travel 2024, Gemini, what do you already know? What do you already have around you that maybe you haven't been using, you haven't been actualizing, and it can be turned into a resource? Other things that Uranus is bringing in terms of a theme for you is if there have been things in your health, in your wellness, if there have been secrets that have not been handled and resolved or come to the light, Uranus will raise the gems, jewels, minerals, but also the bones and the bodies to the surface as well. And some of that will be in the physical body. So make sure, to the best of your ability, if something comes up, you are getting engaged with handling it and resolving it, okay? Now we're going to see Pluto make a move. It's doing this dance, continued dance between Capricorn and Aquarius. So in Capricorn, it's been working this vibration over the last 20 years in your 8th house, joint resources. Any place where you are jointly connected to another person, whether that be through sex, intimacy, insurance, money specifically, right? So Pluto has been breaking down where you have been connected to another resource and trying to reset it. And in ways, if you have been overly dependent in some way on resources that were not your own, or if you've accumulated a lot of debt, Pluto is trying to break this down and get you out of it. Now we will see that Pluto is going to take a little jaunt over into Aquarius, lighting up your 9th house space. So this becomes a space of expansion, right? So here you can not just have Pluto in the breaking down energy of like taking something away, but it can also be where you're fully empowered because you have learned something. You have a philosophy, you have a training, you have a skill set, you have a belief system, you have faith. Faith, Gemini, you are going to be called to demonstrate faith, not just having it, but trusting it. Because remember, there are plenty of people in the world who have faith in themselves or faith in a higher power, and they are miserable. Okay, you're going to have to demonstrate faith plus trust, and Pluto will get you in the position to do that. And sometimes the blessings and the movement and this beautiful, empowering expansion out and up, the blessings can feel sometimes as heavy as the challenges. So really work on your faith this year, okay? But Pluto is changing it. Now, in another way, Pluto is also changing the world out around us. So I can just tell you, the world wasn't ready for you yet. They weren't ready for you yet, Gemini. And this year, the world is going to continue to get ready. Now, flashback to March of 2023, Gemini, what started to happen for you in publishing, marketing, broadcasting, training, teaching, traveling, legal things, immigration, faith, what was changing for you at that time? Because we're going to continue some of that theme as Pluto travels through Aquarius, okay? Now we've got these nodes in the eclipses that are going to be happening in Aries and Libra this year. This is not new news, but we still are continuing this journey. The North Node in Aries is pulling you forward, but the North Node in Aries is in really nice connection with your air energy. Air and fire expand each other beautifully, especially when they mix nicely, right? So there is this expansion for you between your 11th and your 5th houses. Now, in that 11th house, Aries energy, the North Node, it's a destiny point, Gemini. It's a destiny point. So the people that you need in order to move forward in ushering yourself, warrioring yourself, planting your own sacred garden, they're going to start to show up. Seek and the universe will present itself. And usually at the North Node point, it does it through people. And there are people who are going to say Aries things to you. What are you doing to benefit your 11th house? Friends, social groupings, social medias, what networks and organizations are you connected to help you? Who's your tribe, right? So you have some real help in this area, but also what is your long-range goal, design, and aspiration for yourself, Gemini? Get hella clear on that. And that Aries North Node can make it a little bit easier to see what has to happen for you to have that experience. Now, that Libra South Node on the other side is taking away in relation what is no longer needed. This is working through the 5th house for you, okay? So over here in this 5th house vibration, what it's pulling away from you is one, I do think a relationship dynamic for you that has to do something around your parents or a story of your parents. Like my parents never taught me that I could create e-courses online and be successful, right? Like whatever the dynamic of the parents is, I actually see this through the 5th house for you as well instead of the 4th, because it has to do with you being the child. But also where you've had like too much waiting for other people to start. You've been waiting too much for other people to have your joy, to have your play, to take a risk, to, do something where you also engage your children, right? So whatever's kind of been this, there's too much we. Now the Aries North Node is infusing a little bit more me, which does not say that the we is gone, but it will take away the imbalance of the dynamic. So I will tell you, let go what is trying to leave. Let go what is trying to leave. And remember at the Aries point, who are you saying that you would like to become and what has to happen for you to make that happen, okay? Now, to support that, we have got Mars going retrograde at the end of the year in the vibration of Leo. So first and foremost, when Mars goes retrograde, we feel it. We feel it. Oh, we feel it because it is quite close. And Mars is about my desire, but also the strategy I'm using, what I'm doing in order to get to those things. So what I'm doing in order to creatively express myself. Now, this is going to light up the third house space for you. So this is teaching, writing that book, that website, communication, things with siblings, contracts, negotiations, buying and selling of homes, cars, these kinds of things, okay? But I want you to flash back between June and October of 2023 because Venus set the stage here. Venus set the stage when she retrograded through Leo energy, and you revalued something here. Something in this area of your life, you're like, I don't value that anymore, or I'm ready to be done with that. Somebody told me I couldn't have that, I couldn't do that before, and you see now that you can. And there is a healing that came with that. So as Mars comes through, Venus set the table, Mars is ready to eat. Okay, what are we doing to eat from the third house? And you'll have a chance to review that. And it will also help you review at that Aries North Node point, what do I need to do to be in the right connection with my 11th house, my tribe? Saturn and Neptune will continue to travel through the vibration of Pisces. Now, Neptune having come retrograde, you have some different visions about your goals, right? About what's right for you in life, what you really did value, how you thought that you could make things happen. And this is in your career. There were some things I think that you saw, you're like, I can't do this way anymore. This won't work. But it's not just your career. It's also your soul level calling, Gemini, in the title that you want to have in the world, and especially in public. Neptune could have created a bit of delusion. You're showing up as one thing on screen, and it's something different over here. So Neptune would have brought these things into a more humble spiritual alignment, which is just the truth. But then Saturn being here in Pisces says, okay, let's stop talking about this business. Let's stop talking about being a wife. Let's stop talking about being a friend and be about it. So this is where you actually have some help to gain your mastery. And then as we gain mastery, we demonstrate our expertise. So these are actually wonderful aspects and wonderful transits for you to be having as we're traveling throughout 2024. All right, my absolutely beautiful Gemini friends, you've got plenty goings on as we're traveling throughout 2024, but I want you to make sure you're absolutely prepared. So let's bring this horoscope and everything you're going to hear from the rest of the astrologers as well down into your personal chart. So if you don't have your own personal chart, go to astro.com, Cafe Astrology, or click in the description box down below and get your personal natal chart from me. And then you want to go over to stormiegrace.com where I've built a whole new resource list for you so that you can say, this particular full moon is happening in the second house of my personal chart. What does that mean for me? And I've got an index for you to look it up and start to get explanation. So click in the description box down below, get what you need so that your toolkit is set for 2024. All right, Gemini, I'm leaving you in the very capable hands of Mr. Wade Caves, going to talk about financial timing for you for 2024.
All right, it's a big year for the mutable sign. There's a lot of activity, some of it positive, but there's a few bad aspects that are coming up, or at least, if I say a bad aspect, I suppose what I mean is almost too volatile. There's just a lot of activity. It can make it very easy to get on the wrong side of a profit loss statement. When we take a look at the more positive developments, you can see that Mars in the beginning part of February enters Aries, and that will send a sextile to your sun sign of Gemini or rising sign of Gemini, whichever you happen to have. So that sextile is advantageous for helping develop and move things forward that require bravery and a little bit of courage and maybe going out against the grain. April, Mars enters into Aries. That can be advantageous for you as well. What I'm really looking forward to is Jupiter moving through Gemini. Jupiter moving through Gemini, that'll happen over the course of the year, and it will extend into 2025. And it's generally accorded that Jupiter moving through the sign of your sun or ascendant opens up a lot of opportunities. But with Jupiter and Gemini, the opportunities may be a bit unfocused. So it's important to make sure that you're lifting up every stone and investigating what's going on. Mars enters Leo in November, and that transit will cast a sextile to your natal sun or your natal ascendant, whichever happens to be in Gemini, and typically advantageous in the same way of Mars being in Aquarius. But there are some really tough transits this year for the mutable signs. Mars entering Pisces is a big one in March, because this brings in April Mars and Saturn into conjunction in Pisces. So when Mars and Saturn come together, even on business deals that perfect around that time, whenever we've got Mars and Saturn together, even the good things they bring tend to bring some tension, some irritation, some discomfort. So just be mindful that it might not be to your advantage to be working on anything financial too close to that date. Saturn turns retrograde in Pisces in June, and that is going to be in square to your natal sun or natal ascendant, whichever is in Gemini. And Mars enters Gemini in July, and so Mars will be passing over either the sun or ascendant that you have. So any close contact with Mars would be problematic. The biggest thing to watch out for is what's happening in August. We've got this pileup. A Mars-Jupiter conjunction is usually actually a very helpful thing. It helps us to be able to boldly step into new direction, to expand opportunities in a way that can feel very brave and pioneering. But at the same time that this happens, Mars will square Saturn, Jupiter will square Saturn, and actually not shown here, Venus is also plugging into this in a T-square. So there's a lot happening in this period that we'll want to be very cautious of. So this is not the time, August is not the time to be signing new contracts or making big investments. In October, Jupiter goes retrograde, and it will remain retrograde for until the end of 2024 and into the beginning of 2025. And that retrograde period is not necessarily damaging on its own, but if it comes into contact with hard aspects to other planets, because Jupiter is a planet associated with wealth and wealth management, that can be tough. Mercury turns retrograde in November in the opposing sign of Sagittarius and will station the following month in December, also in Sagittarius. Not everybody will feel the heat of a retrograde Mercury, but if your sun sign is Gemini, your ascendant is Gemini, then yeah, you would be picked up, you would be picking this up. And then at the close of the year in December, Jupiter will be retrograding back towards a square with Saturn in Pisces, typically not ideal for financial investment. So I guess if you are thinking about traveling around the winter holidays, you might want to buy your tickets early. Be very careful to make sure that you've got the right dates selected, because this period is one where it would be very easy to see money kind of fall away.
Now, the big news for Gemini is Jupiter entering your zodiac sign on May 25th. Now, whenever Jupiter enters one's own sign, that's something that everyone's like, oh boy, Jupiter's entering my sign. That's because Jupiter is the planet that's associated with good fortune and higher purpose. So Jupiter brings all sorts of good things when it enters your own zodiac sign. So Jupiter will be in your zodiac sign from May 25th of 2024 until June 10th of 2025. And this is going to affect you very powerfully, very dramatically vis-a-vis your relationships, because Jupiter rules your partner sign Sagittarius, which means that your partner is symbolized by Jupiter, and Jupiter will be moving through your sign. So this is literally, if you're not in a relationship now, someone coming into your life and sweeping you off your feet. I'm probably talking metaphorically, but I don't know, that might be literally as well. All of a sudden, when we get to May, there may be, if you're single right now, a relationship that all of a sudden like bowls you over, that comes out of nowhere and is like the most exciting thing that's ever happened to you in your life. If you're single, what if you're not single? Well, that might be someone coming into your life that's making you think twice about the relationship you're in and bowling you over and putting you into a bit of a moral dilemma as to what to do, because this person is so exciting, and you feel so revitalized and invigorated and head over heels that you may find yourself trying to consider how to see this person on the side, or maybe renegotiating the rules of your relationship to make it more open-ended, or perhaps even leaving your relationship altogether. This is the type of power that Jupiter has for Gemini when it's going through your own zodiac sign. But let's say it's not that dramatic. Let's say it's someone coming into your life and really taking focus. You know, you're completely enamored, you're completely enraptured with this person. Well, during the same period of time, you have Saturn and Neptune both passing through the zodiac sign of Pisces. And so Saturn and Neptune are really, they're two different ideas, but where they sort of come together in a theme is this theme of obligations and duties that you feel, particularly in the area of work. So you may be feeling 2024 might be a period of time where you might be promoted to a new position, or if you're not promoted to a new position, people in your company might decide, well, let's like lay off some people and give you all their extra work, you know. And so you may be feeling, you know, the pressure of deadlines, the pressure of a heavy workload. And so this is something that is always going to be in the background of your life throughout 2024. So you can see if there are heavy demands on your time at work, where love interest coming into your life can make things exciting because you feel like a workhorse, you know, like pulling, you know, whatever workhorses pull wagons, I think, or something like that. But at the same time, it could be like, I can't really come out and play. I can't really come out and be with you. And the person might be like, well, you know, then maybe it's not meant to be. And you might be like, no, it's meant to be. And you can see where the Sturm und Drang and the drama is going to come from that. So what I would recommend is actually try to have fun with that energy as it comes into your life. But if it's something in which it's upsetting a relationship, or maybe you've got a family, you might want to be a little more practical in the way that you approach it. Now, you might be expecting me to be like, oh, don't pursue a romantic dalliance like that. But I've been working with Jupiter long enough to know that the romantic dalliances are a little hard to refuse. So what I would advise is be practical about it. If you're going to renegotiate the rules of your relationship, renegotiate them earnestly and sincerely. If you're going to have an affair, then be smart about it. But something that you might not want to do is be like, oh, I'm going to leave this relationship or family or whatever to pursue this new love interest, because it is Jupiter going through Gemini. It is there for a year. So it's not necessarily something that I would like bet a lot of money on, you know. So if it's something on the side, good. But, you know, as far as like leaving everything, there may be a price to pay, especially when you consider that Jupiter will be squaring Saturn on August 20th and then squaring Saturn again on December 24th. So these will be very, very difficult times where you're kind of like choosing between, you know, obligations and your heart. And believe it or not, even though squares can make you feel like these are irreconcilable differences, there is a way to have your cake and to eat it too. And that is if you are smart about it.
Hey everybody, and welcome to your 2024 Gemini Rising Medical Astrology Forecast. Okay, so something that I talk to my clients about often, and so this is going to be a generalization as far as Gemini risings. We want to look towards Mercury retrograde to really find out when can we slow down, right? Because oftentimes Gemini rising, the energy is very frenetic. It like has a lot of motion going on with it. But this year it's even more emphasized because Mercury is going to be going retrograde within the fire signs this year. And fire tends to stimulate things. And with the Gemini rising, the energy is already in motion a lot. So if we take this energy that's in motion a lot and Mercury going retrograde, inviting us to slow down just a little bit, this can stimulate us a lot if we're not paying attention to that throughout this year. So the first Mercury retrograde that's happening in fire signs is going to be in Aries from April 1st to April 25th. Also during that time, Venus moves into Aries, where it tends to have a little discomfort, and Venus rules your 12th house, having to do with mental health. Not saying it's going to create a mental health problem, but we just want to be mindful of these compounding factors that we're starting to talk about here. Also during that time, Mars and Saturn are going to come together in Pisces, and Mars rules the 6th house, having to do with acute illness or illness that we sometimes accumulate through time in our day-to-day actions. And then Saturn rules the 8th house, having to do with things that can create fears and anxieties, and that translating to like health problems oftentimes. So we just want to be mindful of this constellation of forces around this time during the April 1st through April 25th Mercury retrograde. That's the most highlighted time, I would say, for the year that I found. The second Mercury retrograde is going to be in Leo, and that's from August the 5th to August 28th. And then the final one is going to be from November 26th to December 15th. So being mindful of all these things, the practice that I have for Gemini risings, specifically inviting you into this practice during the Mercury retrograde periods, is what we call in yoga practice, Sitali Pranayama. And how we do Sitali Pranayama is ideally, ideally we sit cross-legged and taking our wrist and putting at the back, taking the back of our wrist and putting it on our knees, sitting up as straight as possible, relaxing the shoulders. And then what we're going to do is stick our tongue out and make an O shape, like this. See? And then what we do is breathe in through the mouth. And once we breathe in through the mouth, we're going to hold our chin down for a 5 count as long as it's comfortable to you. And then we lift our chin back up and we exhale. So I'm just going to give one example, and I'm inviting people to work with this for 1 to 3 minutes to start with, and then see if you can increase from there. Specifically, again, during these Mercury retrograde cycles that are in fire signs. But if it feels digestible to you, then this could be something that you practice in general, because Sitali is said to be the cooling breath, the soothing breath. And Gemini risings oftentimes need that soothing quality with all that motion that can be going on. So this is what it looks like. And then you repeat from there. Appreciate you for being here with me. Stay blessed.
Hey Geminis, I'm Tiffany Harlick, and I am here to give you your 2024 spiritual astrology forecast. So if you have a Gemini sun, moon, or rising, or you're watching for a Gemini that you love and adore, you're in the right place. So welcome to the forecast. And before we begin, my promise to you is to offer clear, concise, and accurate information. I have a Virgo midheaven, and I'm going to give you my best delivery as possible. And your promise to me is to always follow your heart, to follow your free will, and to never use astrology against yourself, to love yourself. Okay. So your spiritual opportunity, Gemini, is to enjoy the ride. We're here for a good time, not a long time. There's so much fifth house activations of playfulness, of creativity, of children in your year in 2024. I want you to make sure that you have ample time to stop and smell the roses, that you don't overschedule things, this year. This is a year that you're going to find opportunities to do some inner child work. This is going to be a year when you're going to make some money moves. And I know that there's going to be a new version of yourself that's emerging as 2024 unfolds. So don't be afraid to ask your friends and your network and other people for social support. And don't be afraid to lighten up, right? To just take things a little bit easier. Your mantras are best day ever. I'm excited about what this day will bring. And I choose to enjoy this precious human life, trusting it won't slip me by, right? Time is on our side. So your ruling planet, Gemini, is Mercury. And Mercury is a primal motivating factor in helping you determine how you want to use the energy this year. So I have used the Mercury transits to offer this forecast for you. How do you rise to the occasion of your inner Mercury? Well, it has to do with the thoughts that you're thinking and the words that you're speaking, right? These are the things that Mercury governs. And so will you stop using your thoughts against yourself? Will you stop fighting yourself for something? Fighting is a form of accepting and tolerating it. So these are some things to be aware of as the year unfolds. So you're here to enjoy the ride. And in the first quarter, there's going to be some really creative energy for you to take advantage of. In the second quarter, it's going to be about finding friends and alliances. And in the third quarter, it's going to have more to do with a career pivot and a reputation pivot and what legacy you want to leave in this world. And the fourth quarter is going to be more about relationships. So let's see how this starts. As we consider the first quarter having mostly to do with creativity, we start January with some heavy energy. We've got a 9-month, and the 9-month in numerology is all about integration, assimilation, something coming full circle. Mercury will be in Capricorn as we start the year. And this offers you some conservative approaches. This is about practical magic. This is about dependable, slow-moving, conservative approaches. The first half of January is going to be a little hazy. Mercury is going to square Neptune. We should take caution. We should plan more time off. We shouldn't just come into the year hot and rolling, because this is the energy of things being slowed down. So there might be some caution lights come on for you. You might have some obstacles and you might have some fits and starts. It would feel more comfortable if you were going to ease into the year. Now, towards the end of the month, things are looking a little bit better. There's more concentration and clarity. In February, we go into a 1-month in the numerology, and this is when we're hyper-focused on something. And sometimes we can have blinders on and alienate ourselves in this phase. So with awareness, you don't have to do that, right? You can be focused on something without alienating other people. When Mercury moves into Aquarius, this is the opportunity to stay curious, to keep asking questions. Aquarius is about, the collective consciousness and the network and our friends and our alliances. But it shows us that there's somebody has the answer out there, and it doesn't have to be me. That the ideas in the collective consciousness might be dropping and dripping down to you in your conscious field. So just stay curious. You might have some great ideas coming to you through your intuition in February. Now, as Mercury sextiles Neptune and all these other movements he's making in the first half of February, Neptune you want to think of as like that yoga teacher of the sky. Neptune dissolves and evolves and fades and blurs, and Mercury is in a positive position to that. So using your psychic gifts, understanding your psychic gifts. We were born wise. We were born with senses that extend from the physical out into the spiritual world. And there are absolutely techniques and strategies you can use to develop your psychic self, just like if you were a musician that wanted to learn to play the scales on the piano, just like if you were in sports and wanted to learn the skills and techniques and strategies to be the best in that sport. So that's open to you. That's open to everyone. February 16th through the 29th, there's more challenging energy there. So I just use the prayer, right? Bless it or block it. If it's for you, it's not going to pass you by. So you don't have to be scared about that. You just ask for help with blessing the path, making the green lights very clear, or making the red lights very clear. In March, this is the energy of relationships. It's a 2. And it's about co-creation. And so often we forget that we are co-creating. A lot of times when we have those blinders on from the 1 month, it's like, no, bring spirit in, bring your higher power in, bring your best version of yourself in, bring your partner in, bring somebody else in for another perspective on what kind of collaboration you're wanting to do. You don't have to do everything by yourself. That Seven of Wands feeling, it's not you versus the world. There are intelligent forces and beings that want to work with you to collaborate and co-create. In March, Mercury will move into Aries. Aries, known as the pioneer, Aries, the sign of the self, the identity, and Aries helps us again with that ability to have focus. So as we look at the first half of March and Mercury makes a sextile to Uranus and Pluto, right while it's next to Neptune, I think you're going to see some plot twists. So be open. Don't have a whole lot of expectations. Just be more in flow and in your co-creation state. As the first eclipse of the year comes, it happens on March 25th in your 5th house of creativity, right? And that has a lot to do with this first quarter. How can I find some creative solutions? Who knows something? I'm going to ask the hive mind. I'm going to stay curious as times change here. So, excuse me, in your 5th house, this is a sacred unification with your inner child. And so if you'd like to take a screen grab of this, there's some questions for consideration as you're working through this eclipse at the end of March. So yeah, the 5th and 11th houses are about the audience and the actor, the network, the type of people that you hang out with for pleasure, your creative gifts, your creative talents. So you might want to even ask some of your friends, hey, what creative talents do you see in me? What are the gifts that you think that I have? And learn something about yourself that way. Your self-development for the first quarter. You might want to make a new playlist. You might want to hear a couple songs that are on my playlist right now, but you might want to do something that helps you get into creative flow. You might want to change music genres. You might want to ask a friend to make one for you or to collaborate on a playlist and use all of the energies we talked about here. In terms of stewardship, I mentioned developing your psychic gifts. My teacher, I think she has a great suggestion to stick with one teacher for about a year or be mentored by one person for about a year so that you can get your foundations and then go exploring from there. There are so many people that you could learn from and get different tools and techniques from. But as you're slowly developing your psychic gifts, it's great to just be kind of in the zone or the school of one person so that you can get a strong foundation before branching out. And then because this time of the year, we're really trying to bring an integration in, I'm suggesting that you write a spiritual mission statement, that you do some kind of new bio that includes a spiritual why, like, why am I doing this? Why am I in this line of work? Where is my joy? What am I really providing for the tribe of humanity through this? And just get in touch with that side of yourself. A recommendation I have, I was suggesting The Artist's Way here by Julia Cameron, but there are many people that have written books on creativity. So if you have like a favorite, like Stephen King wrote a great book on his writing process. Elizabeth Gilbert wrote Big Magic on her creative process. But it would be great if you could learn or get some inspiration from somebody who you feel had done very well with their creative spirit. All right, Q2, Gemini. This is about your friends. This is about your connections, the people you like to hang out with. You turn into them, right? You know that saying that you're like the 3 or 5 the people that you hang out with the most. You kind of take on each other's qualities. And so being aware of what alliances that you're making and where you're spending your energy and who you're sharing time with here in April is going to be important. The 3 energy is more outward facing. It's more charismatic. It's more courageous and exciting. And so April is one of the bigger months of the year. A lot of the astrology happening right here in April. We've got a Mercury retrograde in your 11th house of friends, of the future, of solutions, of tech, right? Of AI. And then the 1st through the 15th, you'll have a cazimi. Mercury will cazimi in Aries. So it will be in the heart of the sun, in yourself. And so you're going to know yourself. You're going to love yourself. You're going to learn something new about yourself in April. And then the eclipse also happens in your 11th house of friends, of benevolent partners, of the group, right? Are you the lucky charm for your friends group? Do you know what they need? Are you growing and evolving and getting different types of friends in your life? This will be an interesting one to watch for you guys. Now, the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is happening on April 20th. So all month long, maybe even all year long, as it rolls in and then releases on the 20th, Jupiter is the great magnifying glass of the sky. Jupiter expands everything, good or bad. It blows it up, it makes it bigger. And Uranus is the great quickener. Uranus is the Einstein, the aha moments, the things that happen quickly, right? And so I know that there can be some of this windfall type energy. And this is happening for you in your 12th house, which is all about your supernatural strengths, gifts, intuition. It is the house of troubles. And we turn the house of troubles into the house of redemption once we start to bring the subconscious conscious and we're aware of some of the motivations that are driving us behind the scenes, right? It's the house of the hypnotized too. So in May, Gemini, many hands make light work. The energy of the 4 is about being stable, while the rest of the energy is wavy. As Mercury moves into Taurus in May, we're going to want to slow things down. This is slow cooking, slow learning, slow everything. Just this approach that is just easier, has more room in the schedule, has more rest in the schedule, has more opportunities for food and sensuality and all of the things that Taurus loves to think about, Mercury. The 1st through the 15th, with Mercury next to Chiron, if you think about Chiron as the wounded healer, you think about Chiron as the medicine bag. And with Mercury right there, it could be something that's very top of mind that's coming up to give you an awareness about something that's wanting to heal inside of yourself. This could be happening through the lens of your friend group. You could be doing a group healing or a group journey or a group session of some kind. Caution lights come on the second half of May as Mercury squares Pluto and conjoins Uranus in the sky. So very unpredictable astrology weather there the second half of May. And as that's unpredictable, we've got this Jupiter-Pluto trine building and connecting. So yep, Jupiter's active again, and in June, it's a 5-month. We can feel distracted. We can feel pulled in many different directions. I'm asking people to take a leap of faith. Jupiter is the king of the gods, right? And Pluto is the king of the underworld. So we have these two influences in a beneficial aspect. Something is working together on your favor behind the scenes. So if you have trust issues with the universe, this is a time when that will be made aware to you for the purpose of healing, growing, and moving through it. Again, that feeling of distracted follows the numerology into the astrology. Mercury will move into Cancer by the end of the year, and that is the time when we're more reflective. We need to recharge the batteries of our heart. It's time to get by the lakes and by the rivers and by the waters and calm things down. This is a time when we tend to see people wanting to do family reunions with their mind on their family or going back to their roots, right? Cancer. Your self-development opportunities have to do with the Silva meditation. The Silva meditation you can get free, you can pay for it. There are many different options available. I think there's some on Insight Timer and YouTube. But Jose Silva was born in El Paso, Texas. And what I love about his strategy and his technique to learn mind focus, to learn how to work with your mind in a higher state of being, he said his technique only works as long as you're using your spiritual vision to uplift other people, as long as what you're doing, what you're manifesting, what you're asking for in prayer is also helping many, many others. So check that technique out. In terms of stewardship, this is a time to be a good friend, a time to check in with your friends, a time to do a give back for your friends. And in terms of an activity, reparenting yourself with that 5th house energy, going back through, looking at childhood photos, telling different versions of yourself how much you love them, how much right? Like, I'm so excited to see you. Wow, I choose you. I'm happy that you're here. I love you. Things that the inner child may have missed along the way. What promises will you make to the inner child that still lives with you, right? What promises will you make to have fun with them this year, right? Sometimes my inner child needs to have a pink donut in the morning or ice cream for dinner. Sometimes my inner child wants to go on a bike ride. These are things that you can do to play, right, with your fifth house energy. Book recommendation I have for you, Gemini, is Sacred Contracts. It's an older one by Caroline Meese. If you've already had that one, don't worry, it's for all those other Geminis, and you pick a different one out. She's a great author, has many to choose from. In the third quarter, I'm suggesting that you pay attention to your reputation. This is a 10th house theme. Reputation goes hand in hand with your career, goes hand in hand with your midheaven, goes hand in hand with what the world needs from you, goes hand in hand with your expectations of yourself for your own purpose, what you want to provide. And so your reputation isn't just that shallow thing. It has more to do with your life being the legacy that you want to leave behind. In July, you're going to see some 6 energy, which is nesting and creature comforts, and it's going to help you see your natural talents. Mercury moves into Leo in July, and so if you are creative, if you are writing a screenplay or a book, or you're pitching something to producers or publishers or media, this would be an interesting time to play with that. The 1st through the 15th, Mercury, Neptune, and the North Node are working together, but then Mercury opposes Pluto. So I just feel like there's some power shifts that are positive for you, that you're going to surprise yourself if you listen to your intuition. You could play the game of having a day where you only follow your intuition and not your mind, and see what happens, see how it feels, see what muscles develop. The 16th through the 31st, I'm going to say follow your heart. As Mercury moves then into Virgo, we're going to shift our focus away from the Leo energy and into the Virgo energy the end of July, which is a little bit more routine, a little bit more earthy, a little bit more grounded, right? And so be aware of this interior shift too. In August, we go into a 7-month, which has to do with our soul quest, where we're interested in Rumi and Hafiz and the very poetic soul, writers of our time. And so I think that this is a great time to nest up and circle up with a good book, to be inspired, to be more reflective, to be quiet. And during August, Mercury will retrograde through your 4th house of home, family, and roots, and your 3rd house of communication. And so this might be a time when you're moving some furniture around, when you're shaking things up with your home and family, when you need to visit a place from the past or visit somebody that you have a shared history with. These are good ways to activate the astrology for your own spiritual development. Towards the end of the month, we've got Jupiter square Saturn in the skies, and Jupiter shows us our wildest dreams, our bucket list, the thing that we want to do most with our precious human life, the thing that we're excited about, right? And then Saturn shows us our responsibilities and our duties and the things that we have to do. And there's some tension between those two energies. So I'm calling it growing pains, and I want you to be aware of it. And you don't have to do anything, fix anything, just notice how the tensions are showing up for you. And then this will repeat in December, so you can review it and see what's changed over time. In September, we're in an 8-month, and this is the infinity symbol. So what goes up must come down, and what goes down must come up. And for you, I'm suggesting a career pivot in September, mostly because of this eclipse happening in your 10th house of career and reputation and your give back to the world. So leave a little space for grace in September. Here are the support themes for your eclipse, which have to do with the 4th house and 10th house axis. And so this is a sacred reunification with your lineage, studying your ancestry, writing letters to your ancestors that are thankful. There's so much content about like healing from, all of the pain of the past, but really our ancestors got us to this point in humanity. And is there something that we could be thankful for? Could we bring forward their gifts and recognize those and have some gratitude there? This has everything to do with, yes, your career, and yes, your reputation. It's all in alignment with the 4th and 10th house axis. So take a screen grab of that and see if you want to journal through those questions later. Your self-development here in terms of meditation is to do some breath work. Now, I recommend The Science of the Breath, which is an older classic. It's a really thin book, easy to read. You can fly through it in an afternoon easily. But there are many great breath work books like the Wim Hof or James Nestor. There are many that you could choose from. A simple one that you could start with if breath work is new to you is just the box breath, and how you do that is you inhale for 4 counts, you pause at the top for 4 counts, and then you exhale for 4 counts, and you pause at the bottom for 4 counts. And so you do this in a little cycle until you have that relaxed feeling, until your central nervous system relaxes, until your mind is off duty and not hyper focused or obsessing on the thing that you were about to have a reaction to, but you saw that coming and you went ahead and did your breath work and came back to a place of response. In terms of stewardship, I want you to check out your home and your car and your office maintenance. Take care of the things that need to be taken care of. And in terms of an activity, I want you to consider the open centers of the human design chart. You can get your body graph at mybodygraph.com. And if you do that, you'll see the open centers and you can ask yourself the open centered questions for each of the centers. But even if you're not into that, I think these are a great list of questions to ask yourself so you can see, am I operating from the mind or am I operating from my soul, my body, my physical understanding, my inner knower, my intuition? And so these could be some things to ask yourself. Okay, Gemini, as we go into the 4th quarter, this is the one where we get to focus more on relationships. So in October, we have a 9-month again, that energy of integration, of something coming full circle. So you might be revisiting some themes from January when we were also in that 9 energy. This eclipse is in the 5th house. So we are absolutely revisiting the 5th house of playing, lightening up, having fun, being creative, hanging out with our friends, that we're here for a good time, not a long time, that we're here to enjoy the ride, right? And so these eclipse themes will come back up for you. And this is just a reminder that, yeah, the energy is kind of intense in October, and to pause when agitated, use your box breath, right? Go to yoga. In terms of November, it's a 1 month, and this is a repeat from February, where we can be hyper-focused on something, which can be helpful, but it can also create some analysis paralysis. So as Mercury moves into Sagittarius, and will retrograde there, this is going to go right over your 7th house of relationships, right? And so I want you to be working with some of these ideas of Sagittarius, which have to do with a quest for the truth, a quest for the good time. Sagittarius has that jovial energy. It's ruled by Jupiter, the king of the gods. Jupiter has the magnification, the amplification, the pilgrimage, like the bucket list travel, the wanting to learn foreign languages, and really wanting things to be fair and right in the world. And so where are things fair and right in the world in terms of your relationships? And then in December, we have the relationship theme carry on because the 2 frequency of the numerology is exactly that. And so this is a December 2 remember. Mars will join the retrograde party in your 2nd and 3rd house. So the 2nd house has to do with our values. So Mars is going to help you review your budget. It's going to help you review your worth, your self-worth, how you're charging for things, how you're spending your quality time. And then by the end of December, that Jupiter-Saturn square we had back in August will come back around, and you'll see where has that inner tension reconciled or gotten louder, right? And then it's up to you with how you want to navigate and handle those growing pains that we're all experiencing. Now, because it's a relationship themed month there, I wanted to offer you my personal relationship inventory. These are the list of questions I ask myself when I'm upset, bothered, or agitated, because I know that those feelings come from me, not other people, right? So if I've got 1 finger pointed out, I've got 3 fingers pointed back at me. And that is where I go inside, internal, reflect, and go through these questions in order with a friend who can reflect some things back to me once I'm done. And then I sleep on it, and I go into my meditation and ask, is there anything else I've missed? And am I willing to surrender some of these bad habits that I've picked up along the way? The relationship inventory is a way for you to check your motives. And if you're not there, if you're in good flow, everything's like totally cool. It's something that you could do on a more regular basis with your relationships, is just to check in. Hey, what's going well? Hey, what could I do better? Hey, how can I be a service to you? And use these as tools towards the end of the year. The meditation I'm offering for you, Gemini, is the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you. And this is a prayer that you do internally with yourself. It's not necessarily one you go tell someone. I recommend that you research it. It has such a powerful history to it. It's a beautiful prayer that we can borrow and see if it's something that you want to take into your meditation. In terms of stewardship, yes, the body is the temple. And how will you be a good steward of this mind, body, physical, emotional, spiritual person? And then in terms of an activity, this goes back to the relationship theme. I've got some journal prompts there for you. The book I'm recommending is Metaphysical Anatomy by Yvette Rose. And so if your body's talking to you, if something is kind of loud or giving you some issues, this is such a cool resource to be able to look that up to see what physically is happening. And then she'll show you an emotional component. It's really wild. It's a really good one. I highly recommend it. Okay, I have one more slide after the resources. So I just wanted to take a second to say thank you for joining me through your spiritual forecast this year. At tiffanyharlick.com, I've got a handout and some articles that I think you'll love. If you're on my site, you're going to see stuff about beekeeping and astrology. I love to do one-on-one sessions, and I have a newsletter that goes out every Friday. The outside resources are listed. And if you're interested in taking astrology with you all year so that the universe can have your back, I have a digital astrology calendar. I use it in Google Cal. You can use it in any calendar system, any platform, and it'll travel with you through any time zone. And when you click on it, the planetary transits or ingresses or lunations, they'll have a title with an emoji, a sun for easy days and an umbrella for lay low days. And the description will show you what that transit is about. So you can start to learn astrology all throughout the year. And there's a code, Stormie 2024, so that you can have $10 off. So it's normally $39. It makes it $29 for you guys. If you'd like to become a certified astrologer, I'm teaching at the Lisa Williams School next year. And I have classes that I offer through my membership too. So Gemini, the main lesson here is to know yourself and to love yourself. We're here for a good time, not a long time. So I want you to enjoy the ride this year. It has been my honor and privilege to serve you in this capacity. And until we can work together again, guys, namaste.